Hey, Detroit Bob, we went back to Michigan, and that's this right here, the state of Michigan. Originally, I'm from the Detroit area, but we go up here to this town called Traverse City, right off Lake Michigan. It's on the western shore, if you will, northwest Michigan, or we simply call up north. Now, we get up there, we go into RPM Records because we've been doing a Northern Soul search A through Z, and we're on the letter J, and we got J in the books. And I tell you what, we've picked up 5 Northern Soul titles we're going to want to stick around for to see. We'll review all those, all the J's that we picked up. Plus, I got a tip on some LPs from a lady I ran into at Habitat for Humanity about a month ago. I gave her my card, which I always carry. She called me up. She said, hey, my husband's got all these LPs. Got out there. He said $1 a piece. Started looking through them, and you know the drill. It was a bunch of show tunes and religious and wacky country. But I got out of there, well, 5 deep. I found the Woodstock triple LP in nice clean version. So I'm like, okay, kept going, and I got a lot of soul, and I got some decent country, which my son-in-law took. So he took the country, I took all the soul, rock and roll, and 35 approximately for about 20 bucks. So good price there. Target we stopped at, I always do, to see what's going on. And I can knock Target, but their display is nice and neat and clean. And for a starter collector, and let's not forget, we all started collecting somewhere. I would say it would be a great place to buy your kid or your grandkid an LP. 25 bucks, you can get colored vinyl, you can get Prince, you can Marvin Gaye, What's Going On, the Beatles, Meet the Beatles, Prince title, I think he had Purple Rain. And the Creedence Clearwater Revival Chronicle is a great 2 LP set. They had some Led Zeppelin, they had some Pink Floyd. I would steer away from the greatest hits and get those classic albums on vinyl and start giving those out as gifts for your kids. Now, you're going to have to have a turntable too, so we'll probably do an issue on that someday. All in all, a good weekend, a good trip. That Northern Soul list is from 2002. A subscriber sent it to me, so I realize it's a little dated, a little old, and there's going to be some hits and misses. And they asked me, what are you going to do, Detroit Bob, when you get to Z? I said, start all over again. So some of those misses, hopefully, will still be there. Cheers. Stay tuned. We'll go through it all. RockMine's the name of the show. Hit the subscribe button and stick around. I'll show you those 5 Northern Soul titles that I picked up. All right, back at Target. Why? Well, they carry LPs in here. Back in the old days, we used to go to Sears, Walmart, Walgreens, Kmart. Any place had albums, even Tom's. But it's the modern era. Let's see what they got. Just past, here we have the vinyl section here. Usually the wife stops in here and goes shopping. So they do carry LPs, Cowboy Carter. It's probably going to be the same old stuff. Now this is a good LP to have if your kid wants an introduction to rock and roll. Chronicle, their 20 greatest hits. And of course, right here, you have to have this in your collection, also known as Led Zeppelin 4, or the old guy. And they finally figured out who that guy was with the sticks. Of course, picked that up. Someone just told me the name of this. Tyler, the Creator. It was on if you watched the last week's episode, it was on Wax Records Incorporated front door. So I don't know who this guy is, but apparently it's a pretty good rap artist and rap album. So I might pick that up. At one point, and it still may be true, this was the greatest selling album of all time. 180 gram version, yeah. Eagles' greatest hits, BMG, Columbia House, everybody ordered this. I think that boosted the sales a lot because I know I got my copy through them. Let's see what they got on this end cap. Sublime, yeah, I would get a copy of that. I don't know if I like it as a 2 LP. I wish they could all get it on 1 LP. Here we go, Prince. Great album, great movie at the time. I don't know how it holds up, but I wouldn't make that my first Prince album though. I would do either Purple Rain or go a deeper dive into Controversy or A Dirty Mind. Amy Winehouse, we talked about that. You should have that in your collection. Dark Side of the Moon, you can see it back there. Should be in your collection. Ultimate Sinatra, maybe. I'd have to look at the mix and the songs. Definitely this probably was the greatest album of the 90s, if not 2000s. But Lord of the prices aren't bad. Michael Jackson, $22.99. It's a great album here. I have it. Chris Stapleton. Got a badass Pendleton plaid jacket on there. I got one that looks just like it. Okay, so last time we were in here, or at least a Target in general, they had a Beatles. This is the one I bought right here. So they seem to be reissuing these Beatles in mono, so high fidelity. So some guys are into the whole mono sound. So this is a good pickup. Killers, Hot Fuss, Marvin Gaye, great album. You should have it. I don't have this album, but I need to get it. I know all the songs, but I want to see what they sound like listening to an album. I'd get that over the number ones in a heartbeat. Prince the Hits. I just got off on listening to Prince the Hits too. So this one's got, like I said, a double LP. I almost want to listen to this on CD. I know that sounds crazy, but that's just me. I think Prince is going to get a new look, and you're going to start to see sort of a revival. For Target, they got a decent selection. They've sort of weeded out a lot of the junk. Like this album right here in the back row. Tracy Chapman. And I remember when that came out in the 80s. She was a big MTV hit with that fast car. Talking about a revolution. But Baby Can I Hold You is a great song too. Well, 35 years ago. Wow. That's definitely worth re-listening, and I think it holds up real well. That's about it for Target. All right, back again to RPM Records, and we're going to do some digging and pick up where we left off. Northern Soul, letter J. So I got some good vibes going. I was listening to some Northern Soul, and we're going to come in and check out the gang. I already saw Leland earlier, so that's cool. What's up, guys? Picking up with letter J. All right, cool.
Halfway there.
Yeah. How's it been? All right. Sure enough, letter J right there, ready to roll. So let me hook up my harness and we'll get started. Kick-ass picture of Miles Davis. That guy just got an intense look on his face. All right, looks like Jay starts right up here in the corner. So we got one lonely Jay. So we'll pick that guy out first and see what we got. Now, we're at RPM Records. It's our regular Michigan stop. And I started at letter A looking for Northern Soul. I've got an old Northern Soul top 500 list that I'm working off of. So bear with me if some of this stuff's dated. And then if you see something I missed, point it out. Because when I go through all the alphabet, I'm going to go back through and do it again with all the misses. So we got hits, we got misses, and hopefully some good stuff in there. This is what I started with. And it says, written by Kev Roberts, the Northern Soul Top 500. Published by Goldmine in 2000. So this list is old. But what another subscriber did is made it into an Excel file and then put it in alphabetical order. Because it was just a ragtag based on rarity, 1 through 500. But that doesn't help me if I'm looking through alphabetical bins. In RPM, everything in the 45 room is alphabetical. So here we go. It's a list starting off with Chuck Jackson, going on to Mark Jackson, Millie Jackson, and on to the Jades. So you would think, oh, Soul, you're going to have, the Jackson 5. Not necessarily. Northern Soul is its own breed. They weren't necessarily hits. I don't claim to be an expert in anything, but I can't follow a list. So that's what we're working, is this list, even though it's 25 years old. You'll notice Janet Jackson, one of the famous Jackson family. Her brothers were the Jackson 5, later known simply as the Jacksons. Her sisters, Latoya and Rebe. So I think they had 9 kids in the family, all from Gary, Indiana, 2300 Jackson Street. So we went through this whole bin, and there's no Northern Soul in it. And it doesn't mean
that they don't have these guys, but they're not big enough to have their own tabs. So when you get enough records, you get your own tabs. So Joe Jackson and Janet Jackson and Freddie Jackson and Terry Jackson, Chuck Jackson's all got their own tab, but not, oh, hang on. Chuck Jackson, I almost missed him. See what we got. We're looking for something called Handed Over on Wand. They're right there, Handed Over on Wand. And this is Wand. And, wow. But it's not handed over. It is I Need You So, backed with Cause We're in Love. Wow. Close, close. What's this? Come On and Love Me with Ooh Baby. Chuck Jackson. Now that's on the Amy label. That's a pretty cool looking record. Look at that. It's in good shape too. Well, I gotta be disciplined. I hear some Taj Mahal playing in the background, and I'm hearing some jazz back here. I'll tell you what, I had my buddy Kev over last night and his wife, and he polished off a few of those twisted T's. So I might be an octave lower than I normally am. There's Jermaine Jackson. He's got his own section. And Jermaine was the one who stayed with Motown when the Jacksons left. And the other Jackson brothers went over to Epic, including Michael. All right. And now Rebe, I think she might be one. That might be the other sister. I'm not sure. There's the Jackson 5 and the Jacksons. So when they went to Epic, they had to change their name from the Jackson 5 to the Jacksons because Motown owned that name. So it was crazy. And then the little brother, I think his name was Marlon, jumped in the band. So they still had 5 guys. So essentially, he replaced Jermaine. All right, let's get another box. Spoke too soon again. Here's Millie Jackson. We are looking for A House for Sale by Millie Jackson. Ask Me What You Want. A House for Sale, which is on Spring Records, or My Man Is a Sweet Man, also on Spring. Don't see it. Millie Jackson. Here's another. Once You've Had It. So there's Spring Records. The right label, the right artist, just the wrong song. And A Man Is a Sweet Man, or A House for Sale. So neither of those. There's Leland out in the hallway. All right, let's keep moving on. Anyways, we're picking up Jade's. I don't see Etta James. Jimmy James is what I'm looking for. Joni James. Jamaica Boys. Rick James. Stray Cat Strut with a Rick James record in it. James Gang. Jan and Dean. Well, we're on Jay and the Techniques. So let's see if we can find them. Tommy James has his own bin. So there you go. Let's pull this one, see if we can find some Jay and the Techniques. So here we go. Jay, not to be confused with Jay and the Americans. We get Jay and the Techniques. I like my chances because it says here the song I'm looking for is Apple Peaches Pumpkin Pie. That's a big, it was a big hit too. So it's also on the Northern Soul list. So there we go. I like my chances. How many copies do you think I'll find? Well, let's find out. I bet you a lot. Keep the ball rolling. Make sure I got, oh, here we go. There's one right there. So on the Northern Soul list, $3. How many do we find? There's one so far. There's two. Might come down to condition. There's three. Right there. And DJ Dusty Broomstick's got them all priced correctly too. $3 a piece. There's four. There's five. This is their biggest hit that I think they ever had. It's all over the charts. So very rarely do you see a chart topper that's also on the Northern Soul list. Keep the ball rolling. Keep the ball rolling. And keep the ball rolling. Jay and the techniques. If you find an odd pressing sometimes, that makes it more rare. But it looks like they're all on smash. Sometimes you see a different font, and you want to pick those odd ones up. Odd is good when you're collecting. Doesn't look like they ever matched their big hit though, Apple Peaches Pumpkin Pie, but they did try to do a little strawberry shortcake. So there you go. Maybe that was the recipe, is talk about desserts. They tried it again. There's a different one, see? Look at the font on that, see? Torn up, but I'll buy it. So it might be a reissue. Here we go. Here's another one. That's probably the reissue, because now it's Smash Mercury. I'm going to look through all these and see which have the best condition. All right, so we got one. How many we end up with? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 10 of them. I don't know if that's hard to find in the UK, but this is the easiest Northern Soul I've ever found. Like, I've been skunked many times looking for Northern Soul. So I'm happy about that. Jayhawks. Not the ones I'm thinking of. There's two bands called the Jayhawks. The one I like is the one I saw live. They're out of Minneapolis, I believe. But they had a song called Blue. All right, let's move on. Okay, so these two are probably very good. This one's got a unique little S on it. So, and this one's got a cutout hole. But like I said, you see the Mercury, probably Smash was bought up by Mercury. So I'm saying those are probably a reissue. This is probably the original issue right there. You got a big X on it. That means play this side right there. Don't get confused, DJ. But the B side is stronger than dirt. Who knew? That one's pretty good shape. I'll buy that for $3. This one's got Jeannie on it. She put her name right on it. That's another one. Might buy that for $3. Be nice to get a birth sleeve, but I think this record was played quite a bit. So the people that bought this record, they weren't just laying it on the shelf. That's a really good shape. Got a little chip right there though. Notice that? That's a shame. It's a beautiful looking record. I still might buy it. Two, three. Okay, I'm buying 5 out of the 10. The letter J is what we're doing, and we're looking for Northern Soul, which I still haven't even determined. Is it a genre yet? Or is it just a style or a scene? I don't think they've been given their own genre yet. Let's check it out. Excuse me. So we're looking for Len Jewel or the Jewels. Jethro Tull. I like. First concert I ever saw was Jethro Tull, 1978 Cobo Arena. A grown man wearing tights, playing a flute. But I tell you what, they jammed. It's a good show. All right. I don't see any Jewel. I don't see any Jewels. I don't see any Len Jewel. So we might be moving on to Johnson. Herb Johnson, Lou Johnson. There's Betty Johnson. Jesse Johnson. Jesse Johnson, I think, played with Prince for a cup of coffee. Marv Johnson. Marv Johnson was Motown. I found him over in. I found Marv Johnson over in Rome. So there you go, Marv Johnson, Motown. Let's see what we got there. Must have went to United Artists after a while. London. How about Lou Johnson? Jesse in there. John and Robin. John and the Weirdest. All right, let's keep looking. Hey, let's try the next bin. And Johnson or Jones? Tommy James, I think we got enough of him. Letter J, Northern Soul Search continues. So thanks for sticking with me, all my UK fans and subscribers. If you haven't subscribed, hit that button on the lower right. And right now we're looking for anything that says Gloria Jones or Rodney Jones or Johnny Jones or Linda Jones or Tamika Jones. All right. Common name in the U.S. It's like Smith, you know. A lot of Joneses. I got some friends with my friend Steve Jones. Played drums in my band for years. Great drummer. Howard Jones. Jimmy Jones. Joe Jones. Orange Juice Jones. Tom Jones. Everybody knows Tom Jones. Well, let's keep going. Quincy Jones. Yeah, he put out his own records. More known as a producer. Worked with Michael Jackson. Ricky Lee Jones. Journey. Janis Joplin. Bill Justice. Judas Priest. And Jump in the Saddle. But Tim spelled it Jump in the Saddle. But I'm pretty sure it's Jump. It is Jump. They were known for the curly shuffle. All right, let's keep going. The letter is J. We're looking for Northern Soul. Maybe we'll do K too. Maybe a double episode here. But so far we've been skunked. Now we're into the generic J, the miscellaneous J. So in essence, we're looking for all these people all over again. I'm gonna put on a different pair of glasses and start digging. Okay, it's a little bit better. I'll put on my readers instead of my bifocals. So let's pick up with Chuck Jackson. It gets a little tricky. No, there's that Linda Jones, though. Warner Brothers. I just can't live my life without you, babe. No luck. And that's Loma Records. Linda Jones. Okay. Right name, right artist, wrong label, wrong song. Johnny and Wes. John and the Weirdest. John and Ernest. Calumet Records. Looks like a gospel label almost. Pretty beat up. Louis Jordan. Never know when a woman changes her mind. I love Louis Jordan. I'm picking this up. I think he was a forerunner to rock and roll. Sort of think Little Richard when my dad used to play him a lot. Ain't nobody here but us chickens. I think he sang Is You Is or Is You Ain't My Baby too. You guys would know. C.C. Jones. I'm looking for Tamiko Jones, Linda Jones, Johnny Jones, and the King Casuals. Of course, Gloria Jones. Oh, Tainted Love. I actually danced in a club to that song, but not the Gloria Jones version. I mean, it was soft cell, wasn't it? In the 80s, probably at 82, 83, we snuck into a club and they played that one over and over and over. And it morphed into Where Did Our Love Go? And I was like, this song sounds familiar. But I didn't know at the time it was Gloria Jones originally. And I certainly didn't know anything about Northern Soul. Mahalia Jackson. Looking for Mark Jackson or Millie Jackson. Ronnie Johnson. The Johnson brothers. Paul Jones. Jimmy James would take. The Journeyman. I know I'm going to miss some. Herb Johnson, Lou Johnson. Not Don. Johnny and Joe on chess. We're in pretty good shape. Let me pick that up. I have a soft spot for Chess Records because I've been there. And we toured it back in the 90s, me and my daughter. And they took us down the basement and said, see that old couch over there? We're like, yeah. He goes, that's where Chuck Berry used to sleep. I think it's 2120 South Michigan Avenue because the Stones made a song and I think recorded it there. The story about the Stones meeting Muddy Waters. Muddy Water. He just thought he was the house painter. That's a good story. Look that one up. Jimmy James and the Vagabonds. What a cool sounding name that is. Jimmy James. A Man Like Me is the one you want. That's a nice looking record. It's not on the list. Stateside is the label they want, not Atco. So Jimmy James, it could be a different Jimmy James, but I'm looking for this one right here. Jimmy James, A Man Like Me on Stateside Records. Don't see it. All right, let's keep going. All right. Johnny Janis, the Jarmels. I'll take the Jades. There we go. There's that Linda Jones again. I just can't live my life without you on Warner Brothers. Could be on another label too, right? This is Hypnotized. I can't stop loving my baby. Boy, that's pretty close, man. I just can't live my life. She was really hurting, sounds like. Chuck Jackson. I'm looking for that dude. Hand It Over. Or The Chains of Love. This Broken Heart with Beg Me. Chuck Jackson on Wand. We want Hand It Over or These Chains of Loves Are Breaking Me. Both on Wand. Huh. Man, we're getting close. We're getting real close. Look at that. Hand It Over. Hold On, I'm Coming. That's a Sam and Dave. Never had it so good. Now I'm looking for These Chains or Hand It Over. Collectibles, that's a reissue label. Back-to-back hit. I Don't Want to Cry. Any Day Now. I think I know Any Day Now. Any Day Now. Maybe it's a different song. All right, we're getting close, man. But I'm looking for Hand It Over or These Chains of Love. Bruce Chandler. Eddie Jackson. I don't see an Eddie Jackson. Chuck Jackson. You know, some of these people, they might only put out one record in their whole life. Billy Jeffords. Who knows? It's an instrumental. An odd label. Leroy Jones. I'm looking for Linda or Johnny. Jerry J. Dick Jacobs. Tommy Jackson. Not Chuck. Just Us. The Royal Guardsmen. Boy, are they misfiled. Oh, the Jarmels. Okay. I take the Jades. The Jarmels. Backed with the Royal Guardsmen. That's an odd twofer right there by two different groups. The Johnson Brothers. Quincy Jones again. He's showing up everywhere. Q, they called him. The Jammies. Deion Jackson. Dick Jacobs. Dick Jacobs. Jeb and Cousin. Party Records. Pretty wild. Deion Jackson. I want Jack or Mark or Millie. Jaguar. Joe Jeffrey Group. Davy Jones. Deion Jackson. Johnson. We need Herb Johnson and the Impacts. Lou Johnson. Billy Joe and the Checkmates. A lot of repeats. Who the hell is that? Sometimes on these EPs you can't even tell who the group is. Spike Jones. I love the way he talked. Mahalia Jackson. Well, I'll take Millie. The Jones Boys, Mahalia. Here's another Jimmy James and the Vagabonds, Red Red Wine. That's interesting. I'd love to hear that version. Because that's the one UB40 did, right? Yeah. It's written by Neil Young. I'm going to pick that up. So far, no sign of Tim or DJ Dusty Staircase. So they might be coming in later, though. You never know. Jesse James. I'll take Jimmy James. Horst Jankowski. I don't see him selling a lot. Joel. There you go. There's another Red Red Wine. That one looks like in better shape. I'll take a look at both of them in a minute here. You know, it's funny, you get used to songs, but then you go back and hear the original version, and sometimes it's better, sometimes it's worse, you know? You're like, who has the definitive version of some of these songs? Or you hear the live version, and then you can never go back and hear the original, because the live supplants the original. Deion Jackson. No, I'm looking for Chuck, Mark, or Millie. Sherry J. John J. Betty Johnson. Al Jolson. Deion Jackson. That's in rough shape. The Johnson Family Singers. The Jones Girls. And Herb Jeffries. Well, there you go. Another box burnt. All right, I got one box left for Jay. Northern Soul Search. Let's see what we get. Detroit Bob, and the name of the show is RockMine. And we're looking for some Northern Soul. So Chuck Jackson starts the list with the J's, but we're not finding any. We found Jay and the Techniques, Apple Peaches Pumpkin Pie. I picked up 5 copies of it. So that's a good pickup, right? Pretty common song over here. Jonathan Brandmeier, he used to be a DJ in Chicago. Johnny and the leisure Suits. We're all crazy in Chicago. Wonder what ever happened to Johnny. Lonnie Jordan. It's a pretty tight box here, so we might have to pull them up one. Tamiko Jones. The one we're looking for is I'm Spellbound. Damn. So we would want I'm Spellbound on Golden World, but certainly don't have that here. We got Where Do I Go From Here and Someone to Light Up My Life on December. That's crazy. An unusual name, Tamiko. I like it. Here we go. Let It Flow. on Contempo. Tomiko on Contempo. Tomiko or Linda Jones or Johnny Jones or Gloria Jones. Take any of them at this point. Or Rodney Jones. Will Jordan. That record just says play me. Has red vinyl. Play me. Row AMI promotion record. I might get, well, it's $3. Will Jordan. That's the people that made my jukebox. I might get it. Casey Jones. Mr. Blues. They talk about Casey Jones in a Grateful Dead song. Cletus Judd. Jam 86. All right, here we are, looking for some Northern Soul, and I'll tell you what, the Joneses, a little Gloria Jones, Tainted Love would be good right about now. Davy Jones, Joy. There you go. Gloria Jones. I'm gonna buy that. There's Jay and the Techniques again. Not Apple Peaches Pumpkin Pie, that's Strawberry Shortcake. So that should be filed back in his own bin. Susan Jacks. James Boys, Bad Reputation. Jules. Just in Time. Lewis Johnson. There's a Lou Johnson on Big Top, but not this Lonesome Number One. Jerry and Jeff. Chess, that's an old Chess label right there. That's a little rough. Mary J. The Jive Bombers. Some strange groups, I'm telling you. The Jive Bombers. Here's that LV Johnson. Looking for Lou Johnson, not LV. Smalls Jones. Smalls Jones. Poison Ivy, James Brown, Johnny and Jack. Like the Johnson, bluer than blue. John and Ernest. Michael Johnson. That one just got rammed in there. Look at that. Someone didn't like that one. When they're this bad, I just throw them away and get a new sleeve. The sleeve, that is, not the record. Garland Jeffries. Jackal. Oh. We're getting there. Mark James. Jimmy James. I Go Wild. By Jack, J-A-K. I don't know. He looks like somebody from Prince's band. Ornell Jones. Jelly Bean. That was the guy who I think discovered Madonna. Michael Johnson again. Brett James. France Jolie. All right. I'm getting there. Jitters. Lonnie Jordan. Jelly Bean. All crazy in Chicago. There's Johnny in the leisure suits again. Paul Jans. Paul Jackson Jr. Grace Jones. Harry James. Well, that's my dad's right there. He made me love you. The sound of Harry James. But it's not Harry James. Mick Jackson. I would change my name because it sounds like Mick Jagger or Michael Jackson. Rob Junkless. I would change my name if that was my name too. Garland Jeffries. That's a cool sounding name. Dick Jurgens. Cool name. Alright, we're about done here. Louis Johnson. Unsatisfied. Not Louis, but Lou. Debbie Jacobs. Yeah, Marlon, that's the youngest brother of the Jacksons. So he replaced Jermaine and became a member of the Jacksons. Michael's youngest brother. So there you go. Freddie Jackson. General Johnson. Mark James. Jimmy James, I'll take. Lonnie Jordan, Lonnie Jordan, Lonnie Jordan. David Johansen, he was Buster Poindexter, right? Hot, hot, hot. Also one of the New York Dolls. Rebe Jackson. I don't know if she's one of the Jacksons. Garland Jeffries. He's a British guy, isn't he? Walter Jackson. All right, you guys. Got some Northern Soul, so that's good, right? 5 copies of Apple Peaches Pumpkin Pie. Gotta go home and eat some of that. Listen to it at least. Great song. I don't think we're gonna find anything else. Julie Jones. Johnny Jones, Gloria Jones, Rodney Jones, Tamika Jones, Linda Jones, not Julie. Sometimes it's the last one you check, right? But not today. Okay, let's do it. Let's put this back and call it a day. We'll cash out. Jay is in the box. And we'll see you guys next time. All right, I'm gonna go check out here. Hopefully get some good. What's up, Cade?
Hey, Bobby.
How's it going, man?
Good, man. How about you?
All right, very good.
Good.
Got letter J done.
Sweet.
All right, take that stack right there.
What are you gonna do when you get to Z, man?
I'm gonna start all over
Oh,
again.
do it again. All right. All right.
So I told what's his name, DJ Dusty Broomstick or whatever, Staircase.
Dusty Broomstick.
Yeah. You know,
I'm gonna have to tell him about that.
I told him make sure you recirculate some stuff in there. I don't want to go through the same ones all over again.
Right.
So he's good. There's Leland right there, chilling, man. I love that. I haven't been out to see him. I guess he plays out at the food trucks.
He does.
He gave me his little flyer. So I got to get out there and do that. Found some good ones.
Oh yeah.
Some hits and some misses.
That's all right.
It's all good. I keep tagging you guys, so hopefully they start breaking down the doors anytime soon.
Yeah. We got a lot of people who show up back there.
Cool. The name of the shop is RPM Records, and I got about $40 worth of records in that little bag right there. Probably about 15 to 20 records. So I'm happy. We had to come all the way to Traverse City, and we're out here near Kingsley, and this fine gentleman's wife called me this morning and said she's got some records for sale, because I had met her at the thrift store a month ago, and we got the Woodstock album, so we're doing pretty good. All right, we're gonna hit the peninsula, maybe another record shop. This is Detroit Bob. Right, so enough of the city life. We decided to get off the grid a little bit and go to this place called This Old Barn. Now, I know it's a good spot because I've been here before. I've bought old bottles here. I've bought old license plates here and comic books here when I was a kid. So I've probably been coming here since probably 1969. And that's no lie. Let's see if they have any old vinyl. That would be awesome. Last time I was here, there was an old guy that was asleep in a chair. So we had to wake him up just so we could find stuff. Say maybe down here, some old records.
Anyway, the upstairs is here,
Upstairs, okay.
and so right up in that area, I think you'll find some.
All right, very good. I'll be upstairs, Grant. I remember going upstairs when I was a kid, but she's steering me to a different area that I've never been before. Gotta love the creepy old doll. You never know. You just never know. There's the National Geographic. All right, we got some records. Got some 45s, so let's start looking. Detroit Bob, I picked up these LPs from a lady when I was up north, and here it is. This one got my interest. It's a triple Woodstock, the classic Woodstock album. It's got some stickers, but it's a pretty clean cover, and I've seen a lot of these that are torn up. It's all a triple fold out. It is the definitive soundtrack to the movie, and we had to sneak this in because, you know, going to Catholic schools, the parents weren't too crazy about naked hippies. So that's Woodstock. I think Scorsese was involved in the filming, and there you go. Right there, you got your naked hippies, and that was that. But I started getting into it, and I found the ink spots, and there you go, For Sentimental Reasons, and some good old sort of doo-wop, bluesy quartet singing. Jerry Lee. I'm getting all these. I didn't pay these prices. I got 35 for 20 bucks. Hall of Fame hits. There you go. The Ramsey Lewis In Crowd. Now, if you know the version recorded live at the Bohemian Caverns, that's the one you want, I believe. That, you know, the In Crowd, the 5 or 7 minute version. So I'm sure this version's a little bit, you know, it's a little beat up. It's on the Argo label, which is a Chess subsidiary. So there you go. That's the version you want. Chubby Checker Limbo Party. He shows up on some decent lists of great. I don't know anything about Gene McDaniels, but this just said buy me. So Fifth Dimension Greatest Hits. Jackson's Greatest Hits. So there you go, right out of Gary, Indiana.
So I'm picking that up in a heartbeat. REO Speedwagon, got a sweet spot for them because I saw them a million times growing up. And here's an early one. This is before Kevin Cronin was in the band. But Gary Richrath, R.I.P., great underrated guitarist. If you're not familiar with his work, check it out. Donnie Iris. You know, why do you pick up a Donnie Iris album? Because it's a Donnie Iris album. And because it's got Aaliyah on it. And you just can't say no to that. The only other, Love is Like a Rock is the only other song. But Leah was his big one. What a great song. Yusuf Lateef. I'm quite sure this is what was being played down at Wax Tracks in Vero when I was talking to Saxton last issue. So I'm going to check that out. Looks very jazzy, up front. So don't be afraid to take a chance on these. Frankie Solo, Can't Take My Eyes Off of You. That's the big one. It was the mega hit, right? So you got to have that. California Jam 2. You know, in the 70s, these huge rock concerts were still rolling through. So you got Santana, you got Dave Mason, you got Ted Nugent, you got Aerosmith, you got everybody on this thing. So it's more like a cultural milestone. Deep Purple, this is ripped to shreds. But, you know, it's a placeholder. Alice Cooper, ripped to shreds. Weather Report, so pick that up. That was sort of cool. Don't know a lot about them, but I know they show up in a lot of jazz and R&B circles. Surf City, Detroit City, Soul City, and other swinging cities. So Janet Dean, Beat Up, My Wife Sinatra. Mills Brothers, my dad was a big fan. My favorite one is Paper Doll, which my mom and dad used to sing when we drove up north. So, but I always pick it. This is a nice, clean copy. There you go, the Mills Brothers. So I think it was the dad and three brothers, or the dad and an uncle. This is probably an older version of the group, but this is probably in their prime. And one of them was, I think there was the dad and two brothers, or the dad and an uncle and two brothers. But there they go. Nice, clean versions. Chet Atkins, Grant probably should have got this one, but I kept One Country. Chubby Checker and Dee Dee Sharp. And you see Dee Dee Sharp, she shows up on VJ quite a bit. And then Chubby. So they're probably trying to do the duet thing there. Perez Prado, Mambo number 5. This guy could belt it out. And there you go, Mambo number 5. Someone had a big hit with that in the early 2000s. Chariots of Fire. Progressive music by Vangelis. So yeah, I picked up the soundtrack. It was pretty clean. I got to take some stickers off, but there you go. I'm not a big album collector, but I don't turn them down either. All right, Detroit Bob, let's go through these records. The letter J I went through at RPM Records. And by the way, that's right here up in Traverse City, Michigan. Detroit Bob's from right here. And this is on the other side of the state, but this is where I go to quite frequently. This summer, we're going to go up to the Upper Peninsula. And believe it or not, the state of Michigan is the size of England. So for the UK guys out here, this is, you guys live on an island, we live in a peninsula. This is all water. All the way up here, all the way up here, all the way pretty much here. Well, actually, Wisconsin's sitting over here. But 5 Great Lakes. You got Lake Erie, you got Lake Ontario, you got Lake Huron, Lake Michigan, and Lake Superior. And if you seek a pleasant peninsula, look around you. That's the state motto. Well, we simply called it, this state, this area up north. Here we are, Judas Priest. You know, metal commands a little bit more money. I'm in the J's, I pick it up. Nothing really to write home about it. It's just a Judas Priest 45, but you don't see a lot of metal and you don't see a lot of punk. But it's a big hit, 1982. If you look at it, you've got Another Thing Coming. It's probably their biggest hit ever. It got tons of airplay in the Detroit area. All right, so it's a $3 record condition. Gloria Jones, she was on the Northern Soul list. Tainted Love, right? Is it the same one? I'm probably quite sure it is. Maybe after her Tainted Love, quite a ways later, she signed with Motown, and they gave her a Motown release. This is pretty much the Motown label, the white label, probably well into the era of moving the company to LA. So there you go. Why Can't You Be Mine? It's in very good, almost very good plus. The B side on that is Baby, Don't You Know I'm Bleeding For You. So Gloria Jones, I'm quite sure it's the same one. Now, let's back this off a little bit. Red, Red Wine on Atco. Now, everybody knows the UB40 song, but I always wondered, where did they get that? Because Neil Diamond wrote it, but I just got to believe someone else did it in a reggae version, and I think this might be it. So I looked these guys up, and they are from the Caribbean, Jimmy James and the Vagabonds. All right, so there you go. This is quite the little find, in my opinion. So Red Red Wine by Jimmy James and the Vagabonds. I want to give that one a listen. No Good to Cry. So there you go. Now, next up, Louis Jordan. I have to pick up Louis Jordan every time I see him. He is considered a precursor to rock and roll, if you will. Think of Little Richard. I would think of Jump Blues. My dad loved Louis Jordan. And it really was, you know, some of the Ain't Nobody Here But Us Chickens and Heidi Ho, Heidi Hey. I think he did a version of that. Louis Jordan. If you haven't checked him out, he's quite valuable. And this was a $6 to $8 record, believe it or not. Back to the stack. Now, Chess, I just pick them up no matter what. That's the beautiful Chess label, and it's Johnny and Joe, Chicago, Illinois. I've actually been there, 2120 South Michigan Avenue. It's now a museum, a modest museum. I went there probably 25 years ago and saw the place, picked up a couple posters. But how cool is that? The Rolling Stones went there when they were just starting out and recorded some stuff there. So that's the classic Chess label. If you ever see it, even in very good or good pluses, these command some attention. Over the mountain across the sea. And here's Babies Gone On. That might be the A side right there. Number 174 on Chess. Now, Joe Jackson, I love my Joe Jackson. And let's zoom out on that one. Happy Ending. And this is a duet Joe did with this woman right here. And I believe her name is Elaine Caswell. But it's a really nice, sweet record. And Joe was such a great artist. And I pick up his stuff all the time. And he, you know, how do you classify him? He's really, in my opinion, this is a great album. If you don't have this one right here, pick this up. So you had to go from the new wave punk days with Joe, and you had to cross over to his sort of jazz side. But nice, clean copy right there, and we picked that up. Joe Jackson, Right and Wrong, great double LP, recorded live. And once again, you had to work with it, because if you were just going to hear, you know, is she really going out with him and expect that on every album, Joe isn't going to give it to you. So Breaking Us in Two, it says on the sleeve that's the B side, but it's really, this is a early promo, and Right is Wrong is both A and B. So make sure you look, because the picture sleeve doesn't always match the album, or I'm sorry, the actual record. So double check that before you enter into Discogs. And sometimes they just print it. Now, everybody knows this Joe Jackson right there. That's probably, you know, wow, is she really going out with him? This broke big in the U.S. And anybody who wore shoes like that and had an attitude like that, Instant Mash is a great B-side too. This whole album, from beginning to end, if you don't have it and you want a glimpse into what was going on coming out of the UK in 1979, this is a good one, because it crossed over to the States. More than The Clash, and more than The Cure, and more than Susie and the Banshees, and all these more obscure punk acts or Generation X. We were listening to Joe Jackson that year a lot, I tell you. Now, the James Gang, who are they? Well, it's Joe Walsh's first band, or the one that he did before he was Joe Walsh solo. Now, take a clue on the date here, because they were around a little bit after he left and continued as the James Gang. So they ran into about 4 promos of James Gang. I picked them all up. They were like $2 or $3 a piece. There's that one. I Need Love. The value was quite less on this one, but it had the 1976 date. I'm pretty sure Joe was with the Eagles by then. So now he hangs out, plays with the Eagles. He's Ringo Starr's brother-in-law. They're married to the Bach sisters. Correct me if I'm wrong, but it's all happy. Sober and living the life. Here's the third promo label. Very good plus, 1974. So I'm quite sure he was solo by then, and the James Gang was probably cruising along without Joe Walsh. But I heard he's pushing for them to get in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. I don't know. We'll find out. Next up, this caught my eye. Why? Well, it's purple vinyl, right? So anytime you got purple vinyl, well, it's also Row Manufacturing, and that's who I have. My jukebox is made by Row AMI, and they were out of Grand Rapids, Michigan. So this is a Play Me sales simulator from 1966. I don't know what it is. I think it's a novelty, maybe even a Christmas record, but it was like worth $8. So it's for sale right now on Discogs. In case you're wondering what this is the state of Michigan. That's my site on Discogs. Next up, finally, some Northern Soul. I told you I got 5. Well, what I didn't tell you is all 5 are the same record. Well, are they? Okay, so I looked this one up. Apple Peaches Pumpkin Pie by Jay and the Techniques. This was I don't say it was a smash hit, even though this is Smash Mercury. So that's telling you something right there. These labels probably merged. It's got a cutout hole. It's got ring wear. It's probably a good plus, maybe a very good if you really clean it up. It's got label problems. But what it doesn't have is this little S right there. So these are 2 different versions of almost exactly the same release. And I listed this one as a label variant because it didn't have that S in it. So there you go. It wasn't in Discogs without the S. And I also made note to the Mercury Smash dual label. So Smash probably sold to Mercury. You guys who know your stuff out there on labels would know that and when it happened. But then you go to the original release on Smash. Jay and the Techniques, Apple Peaches Pumpkin Pie. What a great song. Now, I could see how you guys could definitely dance to this. And pretty cool. Now, here's another version of it. This one's in a little bit better shape. Gene owned this one. So there you go. Label's a little cleaner, a little neater, less scratches. I would give it a very good, on a great day, a very good plus. And is there any variations on these labels? Not really. It's the same record, pretty much. Now, this being offset a little bit, where the ink falls on the label isn't a variation. That's just where the label was stamped and cut a little bit different. So you got to look for little stuff like that. And also, we don't really want to get into the dead wax right now, but this will give you a lot of clues too. So 5 versions of Apple Peaches Pumpkin Pie. I could have had 10. So next up, Sam the Sham in the Pharaohs. How do you catch a girl? Now, how do we know if that's the A side or the B side? Well, number 182 there. Let's see what the other one is. Number 185. So usually 182 becomes before 185. So it doesn't say side 1 or side 2, but it's got the higher number on the B side almost always. Made in the USA. Samudio, I think, is Sam's real last name. So you know what their big hit is, right? Wooly Bully. And but sometimes Wooly Bully is so common and so overprinted and so obvious, you want to get the off stuff. The question mark and the Mysterians. Everybody knows 96 Tears, but do you know Can't Get Enough of You Baby and some of their lesser hits, which probably didn't get printed in the millions? Well, there you go. I'll give it a very good on the quality, maybe a good plus. And this is a great song. I looked this. These two, friend and lover, it's a husband-wife team. And as soon as they broke up, the band sort of broke up. Really, their only big hit, Reach Out of the Darkness. you probably know it by I think it's so groovy now that people are starting to get together. I think it's so groovy now. That was the main, I guess you would call it, verse. And reach out of the darkness. All right, well, there you go. Detroit Bob's singing for you now. But I pick it up every time I find it. It's a great tune. I think it's 1968. It charted. Verve is a great label, and I would give it a very good on the condition. I don't know why, but I've been on this bubblegum pop kick lately. I picked up a Ohio Express in Italy, and they did Yummy Yummy Yummy, I've Got Love in My Tummy. And they got another, I think they did Indian Giver too. Correct me if I'm wrong. Down at Lulu's, and there you go. She's Not Coming Home. So even the Ohio Express guys had their love problems. Now, that's a 5112. Sometimes they're, and it's 5111 right there. So now you know which side is the A side, because 5111. But if you look it up in Discogs, it's going to tell you. So there you go. Now, I always pick up Motown. And when I say Motown, there's several labels for Motown. You guys know that, right? Tamla Records, Detroit, Michigan. Usually when the town is spelled out, it's older. And I can tell this is an older release. I think it was a 64 release. Hey Harmonica Man. Now, sometimes they used to call him Little Stevie Wonder, but at some point they dropped the little. And so there you go. Shelley Lyons, somebody owned it named Shelley. And it's got the cutout hall. She colored in the Tamla. Pretty clean and pretty bright on the color for that old of a Motown label. Now, Tamla was originally, I think even before Motown, it was Tamla. But you could only have so many songs per label on the radio at the same time. So Berry Gordy just created Tamla and Soul and all these other little subsidiary Rare Earth and all these other labels so he could get everything on there. So this little girl, and the numbers on the Motown. Also, later on Motown and Tamla, they always had the date. So this one's early. Joe Bett was the publishing company, I believe. And 6507 on that. And Shelley Lynn, it looks like. And 6530 on this one. So Hey Harmonica Man is most likely the B side, this little girl the A side. Now, from Indiana, well, two of these guys are. Izzy, and I'm assuming that's Slash right there. The rest of these skulls, I don't know who's who, but one of them's Axel and the other one's Izzy. Lafayette's finest, Lafayette, Indiana. Word is they went out to California, made it big, met these guys, and formed a band called, well, you know, Guns N' Roses. And this is just a picture sleeve. But this was a huge hit off of their mega album, Appetite for Destruction. And I can't tell you who any of these guys are, but I just picked up the picture sleeve. And they just threw it in. So there you go. I got all these for less than $5. Now, some of these were from the barn, the old barn, I call it. Merle Haggard. That's not for sale because it's a promo. And The Bottle Let Me Down. And it's pretty beat up. Country Records. And at this point, he's still Merle Haggard and the Strangers. So check that out. Merle Haggard and the Strangers. Now, that's 56172. And so that probably was the B-side. Because this one is 56171. So you could look that up. I entered them all in Discogs. Now, last but not least, check this picture sleeve out. And I was really upset because this is classic San Francisco psychedelia, Alton Kelly, Stanley Mouse, Rick Griffin era psychedelic artwork, right down to the font. And the Savage Resurrection. At first I thought it was a religious. I just saw the resurrection, but the word savage is in there. I wouldn't doubt if this artwork is done by Alton Kelly or Stanley Mouse or Rick Griffin. Now, turns out if the record was in it and it's playing on the backside, it sold for up to $170. But I only have the picture sleeve, but do not be afraid to pick up the picture sleeves. This is worth it just for the artwork. They were one album, I think they had a couple, these are 40, this is 45 off the album. It's got a little tear there, and it's wrinkled, but I think it's in pretty good shape. But they were contemporaries of the Grateful Dead out of San Francisco. So when you pick up that San Francisco Fillmore era, Family Dog era artwork, you jump on it. And don't be afraid to buy the picture sleeve. High Records. You'll see a lot of High Records. Why do I like High Records? Well, they're out of Memphis. So this is their promo color. Usually they're a blue with the same sort of production. Willie Mitchell is one of their big artists. Well, you'll see a lot of Al Green. Scotty Moore? Was it Scotty Moore? The other guy that played with Elvis. Help me out. He'll be on High Records. Ace Cannon will be on High Records. And High was a lot of that Al Green stuff. Jackson, the drummer for the Booker T and the MGs, Alan Jackson Jr., I think he went over and helped write several of these singles on High Records that Al Green put out. So there you go. Not bad for an old antique store. And she said, well, I usually charge $3 a piece. I go, well, I offered her, 50 cents a piece. And she was fine with that. I got all excited about this one because I thought, oh, this is birth sleeve. I watched a little thing on Manship. Had a thing on birth sleeve. And I'm like, oh, cool. So I thought, oh, this looks like a birth sleeve, right? Atlantic. Plug side. Looks like everything looks good until, sorry for the bump there, until you get home. And I had to snap this back in place, but there is a fracture of this record, a circular fracture. And there's a name for that in medical, almost like a radial fracture, through this whole dead wax area into the record. So it's sort of a cool, looks like a country release. And it was in pretty good shape, very good. But you can see a little bit that fracture right there. See, I could zoom in on it. And that's how, if you got time, man, you got to pull these records out. You got to look at them. You can see it coming through the record right there. And it goes all the way through up here. So there you go. Gem of the week next. Here it is. Gem of the week, Apple Peaches Pumpkin Pie by Jay and the Techniques. The writer is M. Kirby. Or is it M. Irby? M. Irby is the writer. And the B-side is Stronger Than Dirt. So Smash Records came out in 1967. Its genre is rock, funk, soul, and the style is pop rock. This is a fairly common record over here. I don't know about in the UK, but it's like a $4 or $5 record. So it doesn't have a lot of value, but I was just happy to find it. It was on that Northern Soul list that I've been working. 1,000 people have it, 66 want it, which is a pretty wide ratio spread. Leaps and Bound Music was the publishing company and pressed by Mercury. So very cool record, great sounding record. I can see how you could dance to this song all night long on Smash Records. We'll see you next time. We're going to pick up with the letter J. We finished J. We're going to pick up with the letter K, and then right to the end of the alphabet, RPM Records. And that's right there in Traverse City where the little dot is. So if you want to go in the 45 room and see DJ Dusty's Staircase or Tim, go up there and then buy a shitload of 45s. Cheers.